You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast, episode 68. 11 ways you don't realise that you still have diet culture in your life. I'm your host, Victoria Wellesby. Let's do it! I'm Victoria Wellesby, TEDx speaker, best-selling author and fat activist. I have transformed my life from hating my body with desperately low self-esteem to being a courageous and confident fierce fatty who loves every inch of this jelly. Society teaches us living in a fat body is bad, but what if we spent less time, money and energy on the pursuit of thinness and instead focused on the things that actually matter, like if pineapple on pizza should be outlawed, or if the mullet was the greatest haircut of the 20th century. So, how do you stop negative beliefs about your fat body controlling your life? It's the Fierce Fatty Podcast. Let's begin. Hello, fatty. Welcome to this episode number 68. So pleased to have you here. I'm feeling really good today because last night was the first night that I slept in my new apartment. And I had a little visitor of the dog variety. His name is Dougal, and he is my beloved doggy. After being away from him for a month, because of quarantining and moving and all that type of stuff, he came back to me. He pity-patted pawed all the way through the streets of Vancouver and found me with the guide of a human. And so I was like, okay, so he hasn't seen me for a month, and he's so obsessed with me. He just can't get enough of me. You know what dogs are like. So I presumed he'd probably be a little bit excited to see me. And so he's going to this new apartment he's never been to. And he hasn't seen me, so he doesn't know that this is where we now live. And so I hid. So on the sofa, I covered myself in a blanket. And as soon as he came in, I have a video of it. I just shared it on my Instagram. As soon as he came in, he went running to the couch and started sniffing. And as soon as I could hear his paws going on the floor, I was just like, I was like, no, don't make any noise, I'll find you sooner. And he was he jumped up on me and he was like sniffing, but he couldn't quite figure out, what, because all these smells, the house, it was like going back to his whole old smells of his old house from 2 years ago. And so he was like, he's probably thinking, whoa, I recognise the smell of this blanket and this sofa. And it took him maybe 30 seconds, and then he got close to my face, and then in the video you just see his tail furiously wagging as he licks my face aggressively. Licked so much that his tongue went up my nostril, and I was like, okay, that's enough now. So it's really, really cute to have him back and seeing him explore the house, being like, this is different, but I kind of recognize smells, and having his favorite. He's got his cage, which it's like a little sanctuary for him. I've never kind of forced him to go into his cage, so it's like his little bedroom, I guess, although he sleeps in the bed with me. But and so he had his cage back, which he hasn't had in a couple of years, and immediately went in there and started making himself a little bed, and it's pretty cute. So in the middle of the night, though, he woke up and he managed to get out of the bedroom and was upset with some noises that he was hearing, because I live like a block off the main street, right? And so there's different noises. I think there was an ambulance or something, I don't know, but he was like, I don't like this noise. He doesn't like high-pitched noises. Because in my old apartment, the ceiling was low, and any time that I made anything, the fire alarm would go off. And that's really, like, the fire alarm is like scary, right? Like beep, beep, beep. And he would always be like, fuck. And so anytime I would open the oven, he'd be like, no, I don't like this. Nothing to do with my really shit cooking skills. No, it wasn't that I was also burning things at the same time. No, it wasn't that at all. Was that exactly. Yeah, so let's hope I don't traumatize him with burning shit in my new place. Fingers crossed. So I'm just at my Airbnb now just to grab the final things and then give them the keys. I'm leaving a week early because I managed to find an apartment. Very sad to go and leave this shirtless picture of the Airbnb host. I have to remember to turn it around so it's facing forward again, because that would be really rude if he came in and the picture was just facing the wall and he'd be like, oh, how did they? Did she not masturbate to my picture furiously every single night? No, I didn't. But some people say, oh, you should leave it turned over so that he knows that people don't want to see that shit. But I'll turn it back round so he thinks that I enjoyed it. So yeah, life is good. I'm going to be leaving here in a couple of hours and then going back to Dougie and giving him a nice cuddle. So today we are talking about the 11 ways you don't realise that you still have diet culture in your life. 11 ways you don't realise that you still have diet culture in your life. Now, I love this. I love pointing these things out to people and then being like, oh yeah, oh shit. Because a lot of people think like, okay, well, I've stopped dieting, therefore, I'm not dieting, I'm not doing any of that shit anymore, and therefore I'm not surrounded by diet culture, and I don't believe that we should be dieting anymore, and I'm changing the way that I think, and I've got rid of all of that bullshit from my life. Now, let me first give you the definition of diet culture in case you're like, what the fuck is diet culture, Victoria? Don't just start talking about it because I don't know what it is. Okay, so diet culture, I did a little Googling to get you a definition. So here's a couple for you. From EDRD Pro, I'll link to both of these things I'm going to talk about. There's a post that says it's time to drop out of diet culture. And it says, diet culture is a belief system that focuses on and values weight, shape, and size over well-being. Variations of diet culture also include rigid eating patterns that on the surface are in the name of health, but in reality are about weight, shape, or size. So that is from EDRD Pro. Now, Christie's definition, I'll link to this as well, her post, which is What is Diet Culture? And Christie says, my definition of diet culture. Diet culture is a system of beliefs that worships thinness and equates it to health and moral virtue, which means you can spend your whole life thinking you're irreparably broken just because you don't look like the impossibly thin, quote-unquote, ideal. Promotes weight loss as a means of attaining higher status, which means you feel compelled to spend a massive amount of time, energy, and money trying to shrink your body, even though the research is very clear that almost no one can sustain intentional weight loss for more than a few years. Demonizes certain ways of eating while elevating others, which means you're forced to be hyper-vigilant about your eating, ashamed of making certain food choices, and distracted from your pleasure, your purpose, and your power. Oppresses people who don't match up with its supposed picture of quote-unquote health, disproportionately harms women, femmes, trans folk, people in larger bodies, people of colour, and people with disabilities, damaging both their mental and physical health. So, chances are you live in a culture that is also a diet culture. Most societies, I don't want to say like every single culture in the world, values thinness and quote unquote health in the guise, of eating in a certain way and moralizes food, but very like a large proportion of cultures put a value, heavy value on that. Food moralization, thinner equals healthy. And it's so normal that it's kind of, you can't see it. When you're in diet culture, it's just, well, this is just what it is. You know, this is, of course, it's better to eat this food. Of course, it's better to be healthy. Of course, it's better to be smaller. Duh, you know, like, of course. But then you'll be like, well, you know, as long as you're being healthy about it and, you know, you think, well, you know, it's balanced because as long as you do it in a balanced way, you know, we're not encouraging people to be unbalanced with it. Be balanced with your disordered eating patterns, which is, you know, just ridiculous. You know, just be a little bit disordered around food. Don't get too disordered, just disordered enough, and that's good with us, says diet culture. We know what diet culture is. We've established, you probably live in it. I've looked at all the people around the world, where people who listen to my podcast, all of the different countries. And it's more than just one. It's more than just my mum listening in Ireland. Actually, that's a lie. My mum doesn't listen to my podcast. She keeps saying, what is a podcast? So not even my mum listens to this. How rude. No, there's, I don't know, maybe 30 different countries that listen to this podcast, and looking at those, they are all diet cultures. So unless somewhere new is listening, hello, then you probably live in a diet culture. Now, when we realise, okay, diet culture is fucked up, dieting's fucked up, won't make me thin, it's just makes me sad and is not working for me anymore, that's it, I'm done with dieting. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to work to try and overcome my fat phobia. And I think I'm doing a really good job of not engaging in diet culture. Now, let me go through these 11 ways, these 11 common things that I see, and see if you're doing any of them. You might be like, gold star for me. I'm not doing any of them. And that's cool. That's amazing. And also, if you are doing all of them, that's, you know, that's to be expected. Because this stuff is so normalized. It's so hard to remove diet culture from your life. If you think that the way that you behave, or the things that you believe, or the things that you're doing are well balanced and normal, then why would you need to remove it from your life when it's just a part of living? And sometimes you need someone to kind of shine a light on it and say, this is probably not that helpful for your mental health. Okay, so number 1 is quote unquote compensating for eating food, or for eating quote unquote bad food. Do you know what just came up in my head then? Thinking about, there's one review on iTunes that says, I love the podcast, but it's really annoying how Victoria keeps saying quote unquote. But I guess she has to do it because she has to show that, you know, whatever it was. And I was like, I know, I don't like having to say quote unquote all the time, but you can't see that I'm doing air quotes. And so you might interpret it as that I'm saying there is bad food and you should be compensating. So I'm sorry to that one person. I kind of notice it too. Anyway, so compensating for eating food, or eating food that you have decided is bad. So this could look like, so you might not realize that you're doing this, but you might be like, do you know what? I had a large lunch, and so I'm going to just have less for dinner. And you're not having less for dinner because your body is like, oh, I'm satiated and I'm still full from lunch. You're like, I should. Or you do things like, well, you know, I had something, I did something bad over the weekend. I ate a piece of dust. And so now I must run a marathon to compensate for all of that dust and celery juice that I consumed because I'm bad. And you might not be thinking about it in that very kind of clearly unhelpful ways of thinking. You might just be feeling guilt, being like, yeah, I should, and not noticing that comes from diet culture and a diety way of thinking. Okay, so that's number one, compensating. Number two, speaking and thinking about food in a disordered way. So things like you're in the office. You remember the days when we were in the office? I think there are some people who are in the office currently. Back in the olden days when we were all allowed to congregate around, it's someone's birthday and they've got a cake. And there's always that one person, oh, I mustn't. Oh, only give me a tiny slice. Just a slice, which is the thickness of a piece of paper. Just the breath of the cake. Just waft the smell of the cake towards me, and then that'll be enough. That's all I want. That's all I need. Or now that's extreme, obviously. So you're probably like, yeah, I don't do that. But saying things like, say if you're out for a restaurant, you have something. Oh, you ate a nice juicy hamburger. Oh, I love. There's a Beyond Meat hamburger at A&W. This vegetarian hamburger that's so fucking good. Okay, so you eat something and you say that was so big. That was what a huge portion. Or when the plate arrives, this is massive. I'm never going to be able to eat all this. And instead of saying it in a kind of observation way, it's a judgment thing. I'm never going to eat all of this. And what if you did eat all of that? What would you be saying about yourself? If you look at the whatever it is you've got, it's huge. It's giant. It's gargantuan. I couldn't. And then you just happen to be hungry and you ate it, or you happen to love it and you ate it. And then you feel bad about it. Or saying things like, oh, we're being so naughty. We're being so naughty. I licked something and I got like 2 calories. Oh, don't tell anyone. That kind of like, it is very bonding. Like, oh, we've been so naughty. Like when you're eating something that you've decided is bad. It's very bonding, isn't it? To be like, oh, we're being naughty together. But are you being naughty? Like, it's probably a piece of cake. Like, you're not murdering anyone. Are you killing someone? Are you like hitting a baby or something? No. You're probably having a piece of birthday cake. Like, chill. Okay, so are you still subscribed to diet company emails? And I know that when you're in diet culture, you're probably subscribed to loads of different emails, mailing lists, and subscribed maybe when you're in a dieting group, they just happen to have you on the email address, or maybe you're still paying for a dieting membership and you just haven't cancelled it. You are supporting diet culture in a massive way, especially if you're paying. Don't give them any more money. You've already given them too much of your money. Cut them off. Get rid of them. And everything that you're subscribed to, just go unsubscribe the shit out of it. Don't even read it. Some people are like, you know what, I just have it and I just want to read it, just to see what they're up to or whatever. And if you're not in a place where you are feeling really good and strong and whatnot, then that's just going to lure you back in, especially if you're newer in your journey. Don't even be tempted by stuff like that. Really, like I wouldn't subscribe to any type of thing like that, even to get, material to talk about, because I could be like, oh, you know what, I heard about the new diet and then this is what you do and this is how silly it is. I wouldn't expose myself to that. And I've been doing this for years, so it's not it's not going to be helpful if you're newer to this and you're exposed to those types of messages in your email inbox. Okay. What about being secretly impressed with someone who is thin or, muscular, or have done, lots of things that are healthist, or someone who's like, I've only eaten organic, and I've only eaten this and that, and this, I've only eaten like grains, or I don't even fucking know. I don't even know what they get up to nowadays. I'm so out of it. But someone's doing things like this, and you're like, oh, that's really good that they're doing that. And they're not doing that because they're into health. They're really into being healthist and dieting and all that type of bullshit. And how do you feel when you see fat people engaging in things which you have decided are unhealthy or bad? Are you having those judgments? Think about, if you are still doing this, if you still have access to like before and after pictures on your social media, get rid of that shit. But how are you feeling when you see a smaller body, like the before and afters? How are you feeling when you see that bigger body? Are you secretly in your head being like, yeah, that smaller bodied person is more desirable, is more attractive, is better, is probably healthier, all that type of stuff, and saying, oh, that the person with the bigger body, even if it's the same person, looks like they're probably really sad, and they're probably a bit of a loser, and they're probably, eating loads of food, and whatever judgment that you're having. And yeah, if your social media has got before and after pictures, get rid of that shit. Block. Get rid of that. No, it's not good. No. So next, we're on number 5. Number 5 of 11. You say, or you think, it's not about being thin. It's about being healthy. Well, this is the big one. This is the way that diet companies get into your brain nowadays, because they have to be smart, because people are figuring out their bullshit, and so they're like, oh no, it's not about making you thin, it's about making you healthy by really restricting how much food you're allowed and making you obsess about your body and making you over exercise and stuff. It's about your health. Yes, even though we're fucking with your health and fucking with your mental health. Yeah, it's about your health. Yeah. And so you're like, okay, well, it's I do secretly want to be thin, and yes, I'm working on that. But really, for me, it's about being healthy. And that is problematic on many different ways. Like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be healthy, but there's so much tied up in that. I've done episodes on healthism before, but what is health? Is health an end destination? Can you arrive at being healthy and then that's it, you're done? Are healthy people more valuable than unhealthy people? It's ableist. Not everyone can be quote unquote healthy, whatever that is. The way that we view health in our society is very looking at your body versus your brain and your mental health, and how focusing so much on your physical health can be very detrimental towards your mental health. And so that is all wrapped up in diet culture. The nice diet culture bow, that is diet culture. And so you move away from your goal being, I just want to look sexy, and you're kind of like, that secretly I want to get thin and sexy, but I won't tell anyone that. No. I'm moving away from that. And you genuinely are, but it's kind of like a deep dark, I do want to be thin and sexy. And you're moving more towards, I want to be healthy as well, because it's way more palatable to people. for everyone, the person saying it and those around the person saying, I just want to be healthy, it's a lot more palatable versus, especially if you're a fat person, if you say, you know, I'm not going to be dieting anymore because I want to focus on my health, versus I'm not dieting anymore because it's problematic and it doesn't work, and I'm going to focus on feeling better about myself, because then people are like, but what about your health? You're going to spontaneously combust. So it's a lot easier to be like, you know, talking about health, but talking about that and pushing that, we just need to be healthy, or I just want to be fit, and you can, like, that's great. Like, if you do want to be healthy and fit, but you need to also examine what is wrapped up in those sentiments, and the way that you're talking about it. Is it harming you? Is it harming others? And a lot of times it is, you know, because it's kind of like, you know, no pain, no gain. And what is it? Sweat is just your fat crying. You know, that shit like that, that kind of toxic, just push through and just keep working and just, you know, do anything to become healthy, even if it damages your health. Eye rolls. Okay, so next, number 6, restricting what you eat because of what you think others will think, or eating more food when you're alone. So this is diet culture, right? Because but it's so complicated. It doesn't mean you're bad if you do this, but it's still kind of buying into diet culture that what you're eating is not, quote unquote, acceptable or good. Like, would you feel more comfortable if you ate something that you think is good in front of others? Are you ashamed for eating things that you think are less nutrient rich in front of others? Is there a way for you to work on that so that you can be yourself and not buy into these lies that diet culture have taught us, that, you know, it's inappropriate for a fat person to be out in public eating a donut or whatever. And also recognizing that other layer of fat phobia, that it is hard to be a fat person out in the public eating a donut, because you are going to have people judging. But kind of dismantling that and deciding, you know, am I doing a micro activism? Today, am I going to do a micro activism by sitting in the lunchroom and just eating my lunch, whatever it is that you've got for lunch? Or am I bad? Am I bad? Therefore, I should eat this food and with no one watching me, because I'm bad to eat that food. You're not bad because you're eating that food, obviously, and there is no bad food. Well, there is bad food, you know, food that might kill you or poison you or make you sick, or, you know, that type of shit. So next, number 7, tracking yourself. So tracking calories, which is an obvious one, but also tracking, you know, Fitbits and those health apps that you have on your phone. Like my iPhone, it has like a health thing. I'm like, get rid of that shit. I think you can't delete it. So all the apps that you can't delete, I put in a folder of like, don't need apps. Because you might be like, well, it's just interesting to see how many steps. And I just want to see, you know, it's important for me to take X amount of steps a day. Now, there are a lot of times where you can be doing that and it can just be not disordered. But more often than not, when you're monitoring yourself in that way, it is not helpful. And it is contributing towards you judging your productivity. Or, I was really lazy today, I only did X amount of steps. Were you lazy? Were you like really busy doing something else? Or were you taking some very well deserved and needed rest? You know, it's like encouraging you. It's like making you into a machine. You know, we need to see, like, if we're driving a car, we need all these gauges and shit to monitor how the car is behaving. But you're not a machine. And, you know, if you have like your Fitbit or health tracking or whatever, and you can recognize that it's not disordered, then, you know, knock yourself out, do what you want. But more often than not, it is not helpful when you're trying to get rid of diet culture from your life. And if you're tracking your food, unless there's an actual reason, like, I don't know, you're testing, you might be allergic to something, and so you're tracking food to see how it makes you feel. But if you're tracking your food in a way that you know is making you feel uncomfortable or judging yourself, then if you can, you need to stop doing that. Number 8, we touched on this, thinking that there are good and bad foods. Now, this is very difficult to get out of. Very difficult to get out of. Because there are foods that have lots of juicy things in it that your body needs. And there are foods that make us feel great when we eat them, make our body feel great. And there's foods that make our body and brain feel great. And there's foods that make our brain, just our brain feel great. There's foods that remind us of happy times with our families. There's foods that feel like a celebration. You know, food is complicated, and there's no kind of one food which is like, okay, now this is the bad food. And a lot of the times people make up in their head, because not everyone's different. It's always like what you've decided is bad, and one person will be like, oh, I think that's really bad, and another person will be like, well, oh, I think this one's really bad. And it's kind of like we've been influenced in some way because someone has told us, like, oh, that one's really bad, and it's something that you've kind of decided. And obviously there's foods that society, you know, says, oh, you must eat more of this than that. But recognizing that food has so many different things about it that makes it desirable and good and fun and helpful and healing and comforting, and it's not black and white. So it's that black and white thinking that is very diet culture. Okay, so number 9, you do something else to stop yourself from eating or thinking about food. So you feel like, oh, I might be getting hungry, so I'm just going to have a big glass of water, or I'm just going to go and do something else. And because it's so kind of drummed into you from diet culture that you can't be hungry. You ate 17 hours ago. How can you be hungry again? Why are you so greedy? Oh my God, you ate like 6 weeks ago. Oh, it's so confusing when we're hungry, especially when you're recovering from this stuff. Your body is just like, fucking yes, give me the food. Jesus, finally, this has been years, this bitch has not been feeding me, now give it to me. And so it can be really kind of like, what? Why are you telling me you're hungry? You're not hungry. Listen to me. We ate X amount of hours ago. You can't be hungry now. And your body's like, you think I am hungry? Give me some food, motherfucker. And you're like, maybe some water? Maybe you're thirsty. Because I read somewhere that if you're hungry, it might be that you're just thirsty. That's bullshit, by the way. So eat something. And I remember experiencing this firsthand, and I've told this story before on the podcast, being at work and in the afternoon getting this strange feeling in my stomach, and to the point where I was like, do you know what? I need to go to the doctors because I'm getting this ache in my stomach in the afternoon. And I remember saying to my boyfriend, there's something wrong with it. I think I'm going to go to the doctor because this has been going on for ages. This ache in my stomach. What is wrong with me? And he said to me, have you tried eating something? And I was like, this fucking clown eating something. I had just had lunch at lunchtime. I couldn't possibly be hungry. Next time I'm allowed to eat is dinner time. Silly guy. And so then anyway, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try it out. Eat something a little bit, you know. I couldn't possibly eat, you know, so eat something a lot, but eat something. Oh, the feeling went away. Surprise, fucking surprise. It was that I was hungry, but I was so kind of detached from that feeling and in denial that my body could possibly need or want a little snacky snack, a little snackster for the afternoon. Because diet culture was in my brain, so much so. And if someone said at the time, like, how much diet culture do you have in your life? Oh, well, I'm not dieting. No, none. Well, I'm like, I need to go to the doctor. There's something wrong with my stomach. I'm Googling WebMD. Yeah, looks like I'm, definitely dying. Definitely dying. No. So, yeah. Ignoring those kind of hunger cues. Feed yourself. Give yourself some food. Just eat some food. Yes. Okay. Number 10. You detox. You detox. And no, not detox from RuPaul's Drag Race. Detox as in deciding that your body needs a break from all of these toxins in our environment that your liver and kidneys can't seem to handle. That's sarcasm there. Your liver and kidneys do all the detoxing that you ever need. And so things like detoxes or juice cleanses and things like that's diet culture. That's diet culture. It's bullshit. It's just bullshit. There's no scientific evidence to show that you need to detox or there's any benefits. Like some people are like, oh, I detox and, you know, I felt high and I felt really good and you know, your body's starving and sometimes you get like a high from, you know, the adrenaline and whatnot of having no food. And then when I ate again, I didn't feel so good. Yeah, because your body's probably like, oh my God, like, I don't know how to handle this food that's coming into my stomach. It feels so much, you know. Yeah, so if you're doing things like that, then that is diet culture. It's diet culture in your brain. Okay, number 11. You believe that fat people are fat because they ate too much food and didn't exercise enough. And that thin people probably did the opposite. Thin people probably only eat air and exercise 17 hours every hour. Fat people are fat for so many different reasons, like literally hundreds. There's a report that came out that had all of the different reasons that fat people are fat. It was a lot. Obviously, well, not obviously, because a lot of people were like, well, fat people are fat because they are horrible human beings. Because they should, you know, they're lazy, or whatever it is, you know, fat phobia. So are you still kind of looking at fat people and being like, or even looking, if you have a fat body, or seeing a fat person eating food and being like, should they really be doing that? So equating health and thinness. And this is probably like deep, dark shit in your head that you're not voicing. Like, you wouldn't come up to a fat person and be like, yo, fatty, because you're a good person, right? But in the deep, dark depths of your brain, you're like, well, they kind of are really fat, you know. So, you know, you're still kind of uncovering the stuff. That is diet culture. And fat phobia, obviously, but it's not good shit. And all of this stuff, okay, so all of this stuff is going to take time. Me going over these 11 things, there is like probably 11 billion things. Probably that's not an accurate number, 11 billion, but there's so many ways. These are like common ones that I've seen, but there are so many ways that diet culture will be in your life. And so you with these 11 things, there might be a couple here that you're like, oh shit, yeah, I do that, or I do like a version of that, and I'm gonna try and stop doing that. But there are also so many other things, and ways of thinking and ways of behavior that is contributing towards continuing this diet culture and supporting diet culture, and you're just not aware of it, you know. And so it's not like it's not like you're rubbing your hands together being like, do you know what, I'm going to be a real fucking diet culture dickhead today. Oh, that should be something on a t-shirt, diet culture dickhead. Fuck off, diet culture dickhead. I'm not interested in your bullshit today. So you're not like, looking, I love this shit. We don't realize when we are doing and saying things which are contributing towards the oppression of ourselves or others. And so sometimes, a lot of the times, you need someone to point it out for you to be able to go, whether that be through listening to a podcast or reading stuff or watching stuff. I was like, what are the ways do people learn? They listen to podcasts and they read shit. No, there's lots of different ways. Or doing something like Fierce Fatty Academy, where you're able to really have someone hold up a mirror for you to be like, oh yeah, and also, oh yeah, I'm amazing, you know, because you are. So if you're working on this stuff and you're working on trying to get diet culture out of your life, fuck yeah, you're amazing. If I meet people and they tell me, you know, outside of, you know, professionally, like clients and stuff, if I'm just walking in the street and I meet someone who is anti-diet, who understands this stuff, I literally will do a shit with excitement because it's so uncommon for someone to get to that place. It's so common for people to be in diet culture. So just big kudos to you, big fatty high fives for you getting there. So yeah, let me read out the 11 real quick. So compensating for eating food or eating quote unquote bad food. That's number 1. Number 2, speaking and thinking about food in a disordered way. Oh, I shouldn't. We are so naughty. Number 3, being subscribed to diet company emails or still paying them or following accounts that are quote unquote health and fitness. Number 4, you're impressed when you see inspirational bodies and feel unimpressed when you see fat bodies, so before and after pictures. You say, it's not about being thin, it's about being healthy. That is number 5. Number 6, restricting what you eat because of what others will think. Number 7, tracking yourself. Number 8, thinking that there are good and bad foods. Number 9, you do stuff to stop yourself from thinking about food or ignoring hunger signals. Number 10, you detox. Number 11, you believe fat people are fat because they eat too much food and don't exercise. And that's the only reason someone is fat, and that's the only reason someone is thin because they do that opposite stuff. Yeah. Another great thing about how I'm feeling today is that I got to choose a new Wi-Fi name in my new apartment. I've been waiting for this day to come. My last Wi-Fi was called Pretty Fly for a Wi-Fi. That was my old Wi-Fi. My new Wi-Fi, I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do an Arrested Development inspired Wi-Fi name. So this is like, you know, when you're joining a Wi-Fi, you'll be like, what's your Wi-Fi name? And it'll be like Mary's Wi-Fi 5G or whatever. And so I live in like the gay village here in Vancouver, and the Wi-Fi, everyone's Wi-Fi is like really pretty funny, you know, like unicorn orgy and I can't remember the rest of them in my building, but I was like, there's cool people here. Anyway, so I was like, I'm going to do an Arrested Development, which is a TV show. If you've not seen it, it's really good. It's really good. It's really good. And so my new Wi-Fi, I was going to do Banana Stand. I was going to do There's Always Money in the Banana Stand, but that's too long. And so then I was like, I'm going to do Banana Stand. But then I was like, do you know what? No. And then I was going to do one of my most favourite lines is, how much can a banana be? $10? And that's too long to put on it. But I don't remember. But Tobias Funke, he gets a new license plate, a custom license plate to celebrate the new start that he has in his life. And so he got a custom plate saying a new start, spelt ANUSTART, a new start. But when you read it, it reads ANUS, anus, TART, tart, anus tart. But it also can be read as a new start. So yes, so that is my Wi-Fi is anus tart. That is me. I am a big anus tart, whatever that is. Yeah. So yeah. If you want any Wi-Fi inspiration, there you go. Just be an anus tart. Just be a happy little anus tart, and life will be good. Okay, thank you for hanging out with me today on this podcast. It's been a slice, and what. And I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye, Fatty. Thanks for listening to the episode. And if you feel ready to get serious about this work and want to know when the doors open to Fierce Fatty Academy, which is my signature program where I teach all about how to overcome your fat phobic beliefs and learn to love your fat body, then go to fiercefatty.com/waitlist. Again, that is fiercefatty.com/waitlist to get your name on the waitlist for when Fierce Fatty Academy, my signature program, opens.